But what if I told you that the concept of a zombie isn't entirely fiction? What if I told you that there is a real mechanism in nature that hijacks a living creature, shuts down its consciousness, uses its body like a puppet, and transforms it into an aggressive vehicle of transmission?
Zombies, the staple monsters of pop culture. From movies to video games, we've always watched the same scenario play out. The dead rise from their graves, shamble mindlessly, and hunt the living. These are our fictional fears. When watching The Walking Dead, we lock the door and know we are safe, because the dead do not rise. That defies physics and biology. But this monster doesn't need to rise from the grave, because it is already among us. It has been hiding in humanity's darkest nightmares for thousands of years. It lies at the root of werewolf legends, vampire stories, and zombie myths. It is the most perfect killer designed by evolution, hiding inside a bullet-shaped capsule at a microscopic scale. Rabies. Today, we will talk about how a virus transforms a human into a biological robot, how it rewires the brain, and that point of no return where even modern medicine stands helpless. If you are ready, we are entering the darkest biological storm of the mind. Imagine a virus. Its goal is to survive and reproduce. But this virus doesn't spread through the air like the flu, or wait silently in the blood like HIV. This virus's strategy is far more aggressive, far more intelligent. The story usually begins with a bite. Maybe a fox you encounter while walking in the woods, perhaps a bat sleeping in the attic, or a stray dog you wanted to pet on the street. The moment teeth sink into your flesh, the virus, scientifically named Lyssavirus, meaning madness in Greek, enters your body. This is where the virus's first genius move begins. Normally, an intruder entering your body is immediately detected by the immune system. The moment it enters the bloodstream, alarms ring and white blood cells go to war. But the rabies virus doesn't mix into the blood. It knows the immune system's blind spot. It attacks your nervous system directly. It latches onto the nerve endings in your muscles and begins to climb upward, toward the spinal cord. It is a climb. The virus uses your nerves like a highway. It advances a few centimeters a day. During this time, you feel absolutely nothing. The bite heals. You go on with your life. You feel fine. But inside, in the fast lane of that highway, there is a death machine speeding upward, heading straight for your brain. This incubation period can last a week or it can last a year. The virus is silent until it reaches your brain. Like a Trojan horse, it waits for the moment to open the castle gates from the inside.
And then the day arrives. The virus crosses the spinal cord and reaches the brainstem. The captain's quarters have fallen. The initial symptoms are indistinguishable from the flu, a mild fever, a headache, fatigue, but then the mind begins to blur. Anxiety, restlessness, hallucinations take over. In the Charles Whitman video, we discussed how a tumor pressed against the amygdala, the center of fear and rage. But the rabies virus doesn't just press, it commandeers the amygdala and the hypothalamus. As the virus replicates, it alters the brain's chemistry. It disrupts the very function of the neurons. What is the goal? The virus has no intelligence, no consciousness, but it has an evolutionary purpose: to move to another host. What does it need to achieve this? It needs you to bite someone else. Now, would a normal, moral, social human being just bite someone out of the blue? No. Therefore, the virus must shut down your human side and unleash your animal side. The virus cranks up aggression. It obliterates inhibition, your internal braking mechanism. It renders you hyperactive, furious, and dangerous. You transform into a being driven solely by a biological urge, possessed by the desire to attack the living thing in front of you. This is the first step of zombification.
But the most terrifying, one might even say diabolical, feature of the rabies virus is not aggression. Its signature is a condition known in medical literature as hydrophobia, the fear of water. Think about it for a moment. Why would a virus want its host to be afraid of water? Why would a patient dying of thirst tremble in sheer terror at the sight of a glass of water, their throat seizing up in spasms, unable to take a sip? The answer lies hidden in the virus's transmission strategy. The rabies virus concentrates most heavily in the salivary glands. To spread via a bite, the mouth needs to be teeming with virus-laden saliva. If you drink water, you wash that precious saliva down into your stomach. Stomach acid kills the virus, and its chance of transmission is lost. That is why the virus hacks the region of your brain that controls the swallowing reflex. When the patient attempts to drink, it triggers unbearable, agonizing spasms in the throat. This pain is so intense that, after a while, the patient begins to panic at the mere sight or even the sound of water. The virus wants the host's mouth to foam. It wants the saliva to overflow. It forbids the intake of water. The host is suffering, dehydrated, terrified, but the virus does not care. It has loaded the gun to inject that deadly cocktail accumulated in the mouth into its next victim.
Once symptoms begin, modern medicine can do almost nothing. With a 99.9% fatality rate after symptoms manifest, rabies is the deadliest disease on the planet. It is more certain than cancer, Ebola, or the plague. Once that threshold is crossed, there is no turning back. The patient's consciousness flickers. One moment they are lucid, apologizing, weeping, begging for help. The next, they transform into a growling, spitting, hallucinating creature. This is one of the most traumatic processes for families and doctors to witness, because the person before you is physically present, but their soul is being erased. What did people think throughout history when they witnessed this? In ages before microscopes, before viruses were known. When they saw someone acting strangely in the night, foaming at the mouth, terrified of water, perhaps holy water, stripped of their humanity and trying to bite, they called them werewolves. They called them vampires. Most of the monsters in our mythology were, in reality, victims of the rabies virus. For centuries, we mistook a biological disease for a supernatural curse.
The rabies virus reminds us that our humanity hangs on a fragile biological balance. We believe we exist through our memories, our emotions, our love, and our character. But a microscopic package of protein, just a few grams of genetic code, can infiltrate our brain and erase this entire self. It can transform a loving, protective father into an aggressive monster terrified of water. And it does this with zero moral hesitation. It simply executes its program. The tumor in Charles Whitman's brain was a mistake, an accident. But rabies? Rabies is no accident. It is a terrifyingly successful design, honed by evolution over billions of years. It has evolved to use us as a tool, a vessel, a zombie for its own ends. If you think zombies only exist in movies, think again. In nature, fear is far more real than fiction. And sometimes that fear is hidden within the wet teeth of a cute dog running toward you. In the next video, we will examine the story not of a biological virus, but of a social collapse. We will discuss how a flawless paradise created for mice turned into a living hell, and what dark prophecies it whispers for the future of modern society. See you in the Universe 25 experiment. Stay curious.